failed to do your job and ask the real questions. Well, I am telling you now, and I hope this goes out, you have failed this country.
About the Southport atrocities, ever since that fateful day, the authorities have hid behind legal processes and bureaucracies.
The Prime Minister is continuing to deliberately mislead the British people to continue suiting his own narrative. And I'm afraid...
Imagine standing on the world stage, ready to unveil your grand vision for peace. But instead of applause, you're met with a crushing dismissal that leaves you humiliated in front of the entire globe. This isn't a nightmare scenario. It's the reality Keir Starmer faced in his recent diplomatic disaster. In a twist that sent shockwaves through British politics, Starmer's proposal for NATO peacekeepers in Ukraine was brutally shot down by Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov. But that's just the tip of the iceberg in this unfolding drama of political miscalculation and waning influence. Stay tuned as we unpack how Starmer's blunder might just redefine Britain's place on the world stage. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Is not consistent with Keir Starmer's previous actions during the 2017 Finsbury Park terror attack.
The opposition. You have failed to ask whether lockdown was functioning.
Just behind. Can we just
Do you understand?
Shall we go on in?
Thousands of people have died.
In a stunning display of political hubris, Keir Starmer thought he could single-handedly solve the Ukraine crisis. The Labour leader's grand vision involved deploying NATO peacekeeping troops to the war-torn region, a proposal that left many scratching their heads. What possessed Starmer to believe he could waltz onto the international stage and resolve one of the most complex geopolitical conflicts of our time? Starmer's confidence in his plan was nothing short of remarkable. He spoke with the assurance of a seasoned diplomat, painting a picture of NATO forces bringing stability to Ukraine's volatile landscape. But as we've seen time and time again in politics, confidence doesn't always align with reality. The geopolitical complexities of the Ukraine situation seemed to escape Starmer's notice entirely. Did he genuinely believe his proposal would be welcomed with open arms by all parties involved? Or was this a calculated move to boost his political standing at home? Whatever the motivation, it's clear that Starmer's optimism was wildly out of touch with the realities on the ground.
I knew the details as they were emerging. That is the usual practice in a case such as this.
Experts were quick to question the feasibility of Starmer's peacekeeping plan. From the outset, it was clear that his proposal lacked crucial support from key international players. More importantly, it failed to consider Russia's long-standing opposition to foreign military presence in Ukraine. It's as if Starmer had ignored years of diplomatic tensions and decided to rewrite the rulebook on his own terms. As news of Starmer's proposal spread, the international community held its breath, waiting for Russia's response. Would they entertain this bold move from the British opposition leader? The answer came swiftly and decisively from Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov. In a public statement that left no room for interpretation, Lavrov dismissed Starmer's plan outright. His words were a diplomatic slap in the face. The appearance of armed forces from NATO countries under a false flag, under the flag of the European Union, or under national flags does not change anything. This is unacceptable to us. With this blunt rejection, Starmer's grand vision crumbled like a house of cards.
But you know and I know that it would not have been right to disclose those details.
The implications of this diplomatic misstep are far-reaching. Starmer's credibility on the international stage has taken a significant hit. His proposal, described by some as dead before it even started, has exposed a worrying lack of understanding of global diplomacy. It's a stark reminder that in the world of international relations, good intentions and misplaced confidence can lead to public embarrassment and loss of credibility. As Starmer's proposal lay in tatters, a bigger question loomed. Is this the death knell for British diplomacy? The exclusion from key negotiations in Riyadh points to a seismic shift in global power dynamics. Has Britain become irrelevant in shaping world events? The United Kingdom, once a titan of international diplomacy, finds itself in an unprecedented position of irrelevance. For centuries, Britain played a pivotal role in global affairs, often acting as a mediator in conflicts and a driving force behind international norms and agreements. But now, as the world grapples with the Ukraine crisis, the UK finds itself sidelined, watching from the shadows as other nations take center stage. The recent Riyadh peace talks serve as a stark reminder of Britain's waning influence. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov sat at the negotiating table, hammering out the future of Ukraine. But where was the UK? Nowhere to be seen. This wasn't just a diplomatic snub, it was a clear message that Britain's voice no longer carries the weight it once did in international affairs.
Now you, the British people, are being gaslit. You are being lied to. While the people always sensed there was something unusual.
European leaders, once reliable allies, are now openly questioning the UK's role on the world stage. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz didn't mince words when he criticized the idea of sending peacekeepers to Ukraine as completely premature. It's a damning indictment of Britain's diplomatic acumen when your closest neighbors are publicly dismissing your proposals. But why this sudden fall from grace? The answer lies in a complex web of geopolitical shifts. The US and Russia, despite their differences, are re-establishing direct communication channels. This new dynamic leaves little room for intermediaries, especially those perceived as lacking clout. And let's face it, after Starmer's embarrassing performance, the UK's diplomatic credibility is in tatters.
You staged this bonfire! Yeah, you staged it! You staged it! Staged it!
All of this nonsense that he couldn't say anything is simply untrue. And it's not true to say that the nature of terrorism has changed.
The implications of this shift are far-reaching. U.S. National Security Advisor Michael Waltz's statement that any post-war peace guarantee would need to be European-led speaks volumes. It's not just a suggestion, it's a clear indication that the U.S. sees the future of European security lying with a collective approach, rather than relying on Britain as a primary partner. For Starmer and the UK, this new reality is a bitter pill to swallow. The days of Britain as a global power broker seem to be fading faster than anyone expected. The exclusion from crucial peace talks isn't just a temporary setback, it's a symptom of a broader decline in Britain's international standing. Starmer's diplomatic debacle serves as a stark wake-up call for British foreign policy. As the UK grapples with its diminished global influence, experts are urging a more proactive approach to European engagement. The path forward, it seems, lies in adapting to the new geopolitical landscape shaped by recent US-Russia negotiations.
About the Southport atrocities, ever since that fateful day, the authorities have hid behind legal processes and bureaucracies.
The Prime Minister is continuing to deliberately mislead the British people to continue suiting his own narrative. And I'm afraid...
But what does this mean for Britain's role on the world stage? U.S. National Security Advisor Michael Waltz's call for a European-led approach to Ukraine's security guarantees underscores the shifting dynamics. It's a sobering reminder that the UK can no longer rely on its historical clout to maintain relevance in international affairs. As European leaders scramble to carve out their place in this new order, the question remains, can British diplomacy reinvent itself to meet the challenges of a changing world? Or will it continue to stumble, relegated to the sidelines of global decision-making?